Hi, my name is Margaret Sass, and I'm with Purdue University, and we are here to discuss Encore. So I'm going to be introducing Anne, who's in charge of the program, and then students are actually participating in it. So Anne, can you tell me a little bit about your program and how it was established?
Sure. So CIE, the Center for Instructional Excellence, started this program last year, and it was under another director at the time, but she got together a group and wanted to promote issues in the classroom that we have that as teachers, things we could learn from, situations. So we enact situations in an improv style. And it could be dealing with diversity or teaching strategies. We also do things in the dorms, so it might be things like fighting with your roommate or problems you have with your parents and trying to decide your major. We have a wide variety of scenes we do. And so we go out to whoever calls us up and we do a session with them, and then we have a talk back and they can ask questions in character of the students. And it makes it a more lively discussion, and then we can even reenact suggestions from the audience about how might a behavior change, how might a way we communicate our feedback change the outcome and make for a better outcome.
What are the sessions usually?
Usually about an hour to an hour 15 minutes, or maybe an hour and a half, depending. Yeah.
And that includes the whole acting and then the discussion afterward, and so they all are able to talk about it after they see it.
Yeah, so the scenes are pretty brief. It's really kind of like at a critical moment, and then we stop the scene and ask for feedback and have some discussion and questions with the characters, and then actually questions with the actors out of character too, which is kind of nice.
Oh, okay. So how do you request to have one of these sessions come to the classroom?
Well, we have a website through CIE, so actually if you just go to your internet search and do Encore and Purdue, it will pop right up. And there's a little box on the upper left side, and it says, booking. And so you can just click that, and it's free. It's a free service. It's all supported through CIE and 4 other campus representatives.
So you've gotten requests from professors, right? Is there any other places that you will go to other than the classroom?
Sure. So we've been in the dorms. Student organizations are certainly welcome to contact us as well. Really anybody on campus. We have not branched to off campus because we're sponsored by on-campus programming. So
very interesting. And these are 2 of your students that have been the actors, right? So can you tell me some types of scenarios and maybe some of the most popular ones that you've done so far? Whichever one would like to go first.
I know personally, the one that I like doing a lot that we've done in the dorms before is we have a scene about a student who is having problem with alcohol and like alcohol abuse and stuff like that, and his friends kind of like realize something is happening and try and help him out, but they don't. Like the scene just kind of presents the problem, and because we want the students to think what would be the best way to approach their friend in this type of situation and how to appropriately deal with this situation, because I think being on a college campus, having problems with alcohol is definitely a huge issue that needs to be brought into light.
And how was the reaction of the students that were watching you?
They've been mixed before. That can definitely spark like discussions and stuff like that, and people can talk about like, wow, like that he had a problem, and like it can make them think about, do I have a problem? That type of thing can kind of make them turn inwards. So
when you went out there, did the RA request you, or was it who was in the dorm that actually called out to have a scenario?
I think that was an RA.
Okay.
We're actually going back to Earhart Hall to do another, and it was an RA request.
Okay. Okay, and they're about an hour or so as well in the dormitory. So when they ask you questions, you're in character, right? Most of the time. Okay. Okay, that's very interesting. Anything else that the RA has been popular with other than the important alcohol issue, of course? But has there been anything else that's been kind of piquing their interest?
Personally, the scenes that I've found in general that get a lot of discussion are the racism scenes. And I think that's particularly interesting when you get to the point where you can talk to the actors in character, because you get to see where this comes from and that it's not just blatant disrespect or not always knowledge that you know what you're doing. It's just kind of ignorance or not being aware of the things that you say and how they're offensive. And that usually sparks a lot of debates within the audience, which is awesome.
So the debates are healthy debates,
Yeah,
right?
okay. Yeah, I think the only reactions that are bad to these scenes would just be indifference, honestly. Like whether you hate them or you love them, you're still having an opinion or speaking about it.
And how many scenarios have you acted out so far? There is a list on our website, but how many are there total that you would say right now?
I think we had 8 on the website to start, and we've added 3 more recently. We had a request from some faculty in STEM, in the STEM disciplines, about faculty retention, particularly for African American women in STEM. So we came up with 3 different scenarios. One dealt with an interviewing African American woman who was here on campus. Another one was about a student lab situation, just showing how in a lab there may be gender bias. And another one was about a TA, like a committee meeting with TAs. And again, you know, there may be gender and or racial bias going on there.
So how was the reaction among faculty, staff, students?
They were really responsive. They were very interested in how this provoked the discussion, and that these scenarios can definitely happen. And in some cases, especially with the interview candidate, like what a scary scenario if someone's taking her around campus making comments that shouldn't be made, you know, and those are the kinds of issues we wanted to bring up. We always do some research before. We don't just make these up out of our heads. So we ask questions about what are the problems that you see happening, what are some case studies, and we pull from that and then try to put it into the scene.
So they actually request that type of scenario, or did you kind of think of it yourself, or how would that come about?
It's a little bit of both. It's a conversation. So I sat down and talked with another faculty member, and then I contacted several faculty in STEM disciplines until I found someone who could give me some case studies of her own, which was extremely helpful.
So you're actually pulling real case scenarios and kind of merging them and then presenting them.
Yeah, so they are a little bit layered. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 of these things wouldn't happen within a 10-minute scene normally, but you're kind of pressing the issue a little so people can see what could develop, you know.
Very interesting.
But they're all real case studies.
So with the 2 actors here, can you kind of give me a step-by-step of what would happen? Like, so let's say I'm teaching my class and I asked you to come in and do something, I don't know, on sexual harassment or a scenario. So what would happen? How would it start out in the classroom?
Usually it would start off with, so we would get the topic that you want us to present, and then we would try and pool our resources and look around to people to see if anybody could give us like personal experiences or anything else like that. Like we want to be trying and get as true as possible as we can to real life. So we try and find somebody who's had a problem with that before and see where it came from and everything else like that. And then what we'll do is we set up kind of a rough idea of a scene that we would have, and then we would improv the entire scene, and then later we would critique it and mold it, and we would try and make a basic structure where we hit a certain key points and then leave the rest, like the general dialogue, up for improvisation.
Wow, a lot of improv. That is, I would think that would be really challenging. Absolutely. So you would come into my class, right? And I would introduce you and then say there's a scenario of some sort and just let you act it out and say if you have questions at the end, how would that exactly?
Yeah, it's pretty much we just get into the scene. They watch it through to the end, and then they get to ask the characters questions, not the actors, the characters themselves in the scenes. And I think that's the most fun part, because you can ask them anything, and we have to be ready for anything. We have to know our characters top to bottom to be able to answer those questions. And then you can ask the actors' characters about how they felt being in the scene, or just anything in general.
So can you give me an example of a question that they might have asked you in the past? It's been a long time since I've been a student.
Ask you
so
a lot of questions about like Ray or something?
I think so. I think it was probably for the alcoholic scene. They asked me a bunch of stuff like, oh, how much are you actually drinking? And like, why are you doing this? And of course, the character would be, I'm not really sure why I am doing this. And I don't know, it was cool responding as the character. And then finally, it's always really a relief when everybody can drop character, because then the audience, half the time, even though we tell them, they're like, "Whoa, you guys were acting all that time?" Yeah, we were like, we're really not terrible people. So that's always like, and they always get our names confused and stuff like that. So that's always entertaining.
Do they recognize you on campus later on?
I haven't ever had anybody come up to me and been like,
you're that alcoholic guy.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's never happened before.
That's probably a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So how many times do you do this per year? I know it's a very new program, but I mean, I'm expecting that you are pretty busy, and if you really have to get into a character, that means you have to do a lot of research, you have to prep, and all sorts of things like that. So could you give me an estimate per semester right now?
Yeah, we usually rehearse once a week, but it just depends on how many queries we have. It can be slow at the beginning of the semester and then a whole bunch in the middle. So for instance, the last week of March, we have 3 in a row every day, but some weeks we go with none. So it just depends.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad you joined us. We're going to have 2 other students coming in and discussing about their own scenarios and experiences, but we absolutely appreciate you sharing this, and I hope people take advantage of this great tool on campus. It's fantastic, it's free, and as you can see, we have extremely talented people here at Purdue. So thank you very much. We'll be back with you in a minute.
嘿，朋友们，2014年中国有一期闰9月，一生难逢闰9月。
Ilang se vänder ut i världen, det är som Sydafrika.
¿Sabías que Indiana es casi 5 veces más grande que El Salvador y tenemos 20 volcanes activos?
日本のトイレはすごい。
冬でも便座は暖かいし、
終わった後自動で洗ってくれるし、
音も出てすごい。
日本のトイレは世界で一番です。
Japanese toilets are automated and convenient, with remote controls just like for a TV or video game. Users have an amazing amount of control over their toilet, and it's all on this wireless control panel. It's super eco-friendly. This is a public toilet, and it has a unique feature. That's the sound of running water. Not only does it avoid embarrassment, it's relaxing to listen to.
Do you know that 420 different languages are spoken in the United States?
Welcome back. I'm Chuck Callahan here at Purdue University, and we're continuing with our discussion of the encore performers here at Purdue. So we brought in China and Zhu Lin, who are going to add a little additional information about their experiences performing with the encore troupe. So China, Zhu Lin, tell me a little bit about how you have found the experience yourself, as far as how's this benefited you as a student here at Purdue?
I think it's interesting because you become a lot more observant once you start talking about these issues that are around campus. I remember when we started doing research last year, we were all just watching people, watching, like seeing how people interacted with each other, seeing like, how people acted in certain situations. It's kind of eye-opening. And then you start looking at yourself and you say, okay, what would I do in this situation? How would I act? And then that's also kind of a jumping point for what our characters are going to do.
So it raised your awareness of some of these issues?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
How about you, Zilin?
Yes, I mean the Encore is a really cool group, and we have got a lot of scenes, and personally there are a lot of things related to me because I'm an international student and I'm also a teaching assistant in engineering department, and we've got a racist roommate talking about international students issue, and we also have TA stuff, some a whole bunch of problem students in the class and what would the TA do, and that really helped me a lot, to have an idea, what could I do? Yes.
So not only are you performing, you're actually
yes.
performing what you may have experienced as a TA or as an international student.
Exactly.
Wow. Now I've had the privilege of watching the troupe, and I have actually on a few occasions been moved a great deal emotionally. One in particular brought tears to my eyes, and it had to do with international student working with the group. What scenarios, what scenes, what performances that you've been involved in have you felt were the most impactful? What were the topics, and how did that play out?
Lady first.
Oh, let me think. I think probably Julin mentioned Racist Roommate, where GI, another performer in our group, her character has a roommate who is just pretty awful to her, will make just the smallest conversation, and is kind of passive aggressive in how she asks her to not turn the thermostat up so high and things like that. And it's hard to watch because GI is a very sensitive person, and you can see how that affects her, and you can see how it affects the audience because we've all had roommate issues, and so that's always very interesting. A lot of discussion comes from that because I think there are people are very sensitive about roommate things. So when they see, oh, that's probably how I come off too, then it's cool and interesting.
Yes, same here. If there is one scene that we suggest you to watch, it's definitely the Racist Roommate. Yes, and GI is playing my sister, and she lives in the dorm, and her roommate is really mean to her, and she doesn't fight back. And I'm her brother, so I come into the room, and I argued with her roommate, and that's really a tough situation, because one thing I need to mention is even after this scene, we need to hug each other, in order to keep our relationship, our friendship. Otherwise, the fighting is kind of breaking our friendship, you know what I'm saying? And wow, yeah, it's definitely that one.
So from the audience, how have you seen the audience really get into the performance? What types of responses have you seen from the audience?
So people sometimes get angry.
Yes.
They see characters being mean to other people, or, especially when race issues come into play, they get very into it, and they'll, when we're in character, we'll fight back, kind of, and they just get very, tense, and you can see people just shaking their heads, and they get into it.
Yes, I think, for the audience, they really learn a lot. Not even in the dorm, but in your class, in your group study. Just try to, be friendly to each other, not be mean to each other, yes. And, luckily, when I was a freshman, I also had American roommates. I'm an international student, I come from China. But those three guys, they're really cool, and they're really friendly to me, so I had no issue with that. But I do have some friends, Chinese friends, they live in dorm, and their roommates are not quite cool to them, you know what I'm saying? And they told me their story, and I was like, wow, okay, wow, I'm so lucky. Yeah.
So with your increased awareness of I'm sure in your own mind, you are walking across campus kind of observing and watching. What type of other scenarios think you might add to your repertoire? Have you noticed anything?
We've been talking about some we want to do. We actually had someone from CAPS, from the Counseling and Psychological Services, come and talk to us about what I thought would be more about suicide and depression, but he said heightened anxiety is one of the biggest problems on campus, and so we had a really good talk about that, and also suicide, how do you react? Because I think for most people, it's how do I help my friends? How do I help somebody I see in trouble? Without invading their privacy, but still to be a friend, to help them. So we definitely want to work up a scene on that. We haven't had time yet to approach it, and we'll probably rework our alcohol scene to to a little bit of a different situation in a dorm. Right now it's in a party situation. So we're always kind of looking to different things. We haven't done one about body image. I know a lot of campuses that do these kinds of interactive groups do body image for sororities especially, where it's a problem, but it could be anywhere. So there's so many scenes we could do, but we also kind of have to focus on what's doable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, and where would you like the program, the Encore troupe, to go from here? You've been kind of building it, and you're getting started, and with a number of performances. Where would you kind of vision? Where would you like to see it go?
I think right now, well, we're about to recruit some new people, because I think one of the hardest things with these troupes is that the students graduate and they move on. So, or maybe they have a schedule conflict and they can't come to rehearsals anymore at those times. So training, with so many scenarios and needing good improvers who are also very sensitive and able to work in this way, retraining a new group every year is just part of the push to kind of get up and running again. So at this point, I want to really get word out to how many campus communities might be interested in having us do something, and we're happy to work with new scenes. We're doing something for clerical staff. We've not done that before. So I think we'll just keep branching, to see different communities, reaching different communities, and using this technique, which seems to really work for people.
So China and Zulin, if you kind of had a wish list of things you would like to see the troupe do, what would that look like?
That's a hard question.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Wow, it's my turn. And if I could somehow, apply for a scene, I would definitely, want to see how an Asian guy could, make a friend with an American girl in class. You know what I'm saying? Got a really close relationship, and yeah. Because, I'm an engineering student, and in my class, there are probably 10% of the students who are girls. And among that 10%, 8% of them are international students, and only a few American girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, I come to America. I want to make some American girlfriends, but, oh, shoot. Don't let my girlfriend know that. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
See, I didn't know that was on the radar, but now I know. Now I know.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I can't really think of anything at the moment.
But it is true that they, they're free to bring ideas, certainly, if there are things that they see on campus that we're not addressing. Yeah. And I think that, the calls we get, too, will be that way, because it's like, this is something we need to address.
So how much time do you need if, say, I, as a faculty person, call in and say, I'd like for you to put together a scenario for my class, and this is a particular class I teach. How much time would you need to put something together? I know they're doing improv, but how much time would you need, really, to put it together?
It really depends on how much we have on our plate and how trained the troupe is at that point. If we've just gotten new members, we have to kind of bring them up to speed a little bit. But it could be within 1 or 2 weeks we could have something ready. But if we already have a bunch of scenes we're working on, then it might be 3 weeks or so. Yeah.
So again, and if you just kind of go over again, what are the best ways for them to get in contact with you as far as setting up an opportunity to perform for a group or a class? What are the best ways?
The easiest thing, because it's hard to remember my last name and how to contact me, the easiest thing is to just Google or use your internet browser and type in Encore and Purdue, and it should pop right up, or CIE if you want to put CIE in. And you'll see our page, you'll see our list of scenarios, our mission statement. We're getting ready to put a video clip. And there's a little box in the upper left corner that says Book an Encore Performance. And you just fill out the form and send it to me, and that's it.
Okay. Well, to recap that, basically all you need to do is Google Purdue, CIE, Encore, and that should take you to the very best place to sign up to get additional information about the Encore troupe, or to actually request one of their performances. So I'd like to thank Anne and China and Zulin for being here today, and we'll see you next time.